right, so I watched this video from Jaclyn Glenn. Jaclyn Glenn, yeah, I watch Jaclyn Glenn videos. What do you want? She's this really kind of, I guess, YouTube famous atheist. I used to watch her a lot years ago. Prior to me getting on YouTube and prior to me getting on Twitter, I used to watch her back in the day, maybe like 8-9 years ago. I used to watch her all the time. I haven't watched her in a while, but this was kind of interesting, caught my eye. And it popped up on my feed, so I checked it out. She did a video on Paul and Morgan. Paul and Morgan, if you do not know, they're kind of like a Christian. They have a Christian YouTube channel. Atheists hate them. Okay, the atheists can't stand them. The Paul and Morgan show. It's a little corny, and the first thing that really kind of isn't fair is the atheists present them as if they're the most cringiest, creepiest couple on the face of the earth, and they really aren't. It's really not fair. It's really not. And how the atheists do it, it's kind of the same scam they run with Stephanie. Stephanie is the worst Christian who ever lived. She's the worst person on planet Earth. Okay, how do you figure that? Well, here's this tweet she said that's kind of controversial. And those are the only things in the exhibit. Here's it, okay. And 5 months ago, here's another tweet that she said. Okay, there were a whole bunch of tweets in between where she was kind of normal, and I guess those don't come up. Whole bunch of atheists who are on her channels all the time, and she's nice to them. I guess they don't count. They do the same thing with Paul and Morgan. The only videos they seem to cite. Now, I could be wrong. I don't watch Paul and Morgan all that much. I've watched maybe 5 of their videos, maybe 10 total, and I usually don't watch them all the way through. But to me, they just kind of seem like a charming Christian couple. A little corny and a little cringy, fine. But, nowhere near as bad as the atheists present them. And the reason why the atheists are presenting them as so awful and super creepy and cringy is it's the same scam they run with Stephanie. They only pull the videos that they're not going to like. So they pull the video on, wives submit to your husband, and they pull the video on should a Christian wear a bikini, and they pull the video on, is homosexuality a sin? And guess what? They aren't going to like those particular videos. Okay, I could have told you that going in. They aren't going to like their takes on those particular subjects, but they make a lot of videos. And a lot of these videos are totally benign. They're like, let's go to a Christian movie or something. I don't even know what they make videos about half the time. But most of them are benign, totally benign. And they don't watch those videos, and they don't watch them all the way through. Yeah, you'd get bored, but you'd also get a more grounded perspective, a more well-rounded perspective of these particular human beings. And you would kind of notice that, wait, maybe they aren't so super cringy all the time, because you're only pulling the videos that you're going to cringe over. Hello? Reality check. I could pull that scam on atheists too. Atheists have a lot of videos they make, and I could pull the ones that I know I'm going to hate and then tell you that this atheist is the worst person who ever lived. That's how the scam works. It's a scam. But in this particular video, it's a little bit, it's like almost, it's so dense I can't even believe it. I kind of think Jaclyn Glenn, she strikes me as kind of hip, kind of smart, actually. She really does. Reason why I used to watch her videos is I like her personality. Right now she's got like 700,000 subscribers, but if I had been on Twitter a little sooner and been on YouTube a little sooner, I would have known her. She probably would have been, Drew will probably be where she is someday, and maybe Shannon will be where she is someday, and certainly Seth Andrews is heading there, and I know all them, or I've had them on my channels. I probably would have known her, but as it is, I don't. I just kind of watch her from afar, and I kind of like her personality. She's kind of cool. I got no issues with her, but this particular video strikes me so dense, I can't even believe it. It's so dense. So here's the premise. The premise is so flawed, I can't even fathom it. But she finds these videos where Morgan, of Paul and Morgan, back in the day, like maybe 5-10 years ago, was trying to become an up and young coming like pop singer. And I watched a series of the videos. I watched the ones that she presented in her video, and then I went and checked out a couple on my own and watched a couple minutes of them here and there. They're whatever. They're generic pop product. She's trying to be a pop star, and they're nothing special. They're kind of good. She's pretty talented. But the premise is, back then, she was this super well-grounded, compassionate, free spirit, and now she's a Stepford wife. I swear to God, that's the premise. And the premise is so flawed and so dense, I can't even believe. That's the premise of the video. That's what Jaclyn Glenn actually thinks has gone down. Back then, she was this really compassionate, free spirit, well on her way to being this deep, fully realized, fully creative human being. And now she's a Stepford wife Christian. And it's a huge chunk of it's Paul's fault. It's so flawed, it's ridiculous. First of all, if you go look at these videos, the one that she cites, okay, where Morgan is like, I'll link up to Jaclyn's video. You can check it out for yourself. Where Morgan is like making a video about bullying. And she's like, I really want to reach out to bullying and it's so compassionate. Okay, reality check. It's a product. It's a pop product. There isn't a direct one-to-one correspondence or relationship between direct reality and what's being presented in the video. It's a side of herself that she is trying to convince you is that she's so compassionate and she's so, cares so deeply about the person being oppressed. It's a pop product. There's not a direct one-to-one correspondence between reality and the video you're seeing. Jaclyn kind of acts like there is, and that's why I say that's so dense. Do people really think these things? I mean, do people really not perceive this? Another reality check. The Christian videos that they're making are also a product being marketed towards an audience. I sincerely doubt that there is a one-to-one direct correspondence between the Christian walk that they are professing in the videos and what they actually live out in real life. There's a relationship, sure, but you really think it's one-to-one? It isn't. Reality check. It ain't. I promise. And the one that she cites, I mean, let's take the wives submit to your husband. Do you really honestly think she submits to her husband? Honestly, because I don't. I know she's saying that she does in the video, and if she is trying to, now it's because what? They're 5 years into the Christian walk, and she's probably really motivated to try to do that. But let me just tell you, from being a Christian married, the Bible might as well not say that. I swear to God, the Bible might as well not even say that. Why? Because it just doesn't work. It might as well not even be written in there. I promise you. When I first became a Christian too, I was like, oh, cool, wife submit to your husband. This should go really well. And I used to, read that to my wife maybe 65,000 times. Never once did she ever even acknowledge that. To this day, does she even know it says it? I doubt it. Is she submissive to me? No, not at all. In a real marriage, if Morgan is even slightly submissive to him now, given 5 years from now, she won't be. And there are better scriptures. If your premise, Jaclyn, Glenn, if you're listening to this, I doubt you are, but if you do, if the premise is, well, the Bible shouldn't have said that, there are better scriptures to base your marriage on. Submit ye one to another out of reverence for Christ. How's that? Oh, that's pretty good, Craig. Yeah, submit ye one to another out of reverence for Christ. It also says that. So if you're trying to, pretend that the Bible is this, totally, it will steer your marriage wrong because it's a sexist dinosaur, it's just not true. Submit ye one to another out of reverence for Christ. Now, in terms of the actual wives, submit to your husband. It does say that. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. It might as well not say it. I promise. I used to have this ongoing joke with my wife because every time she'd ask me, what's your favorite scripture? I swear to God, I'd go, guess. Take a wild guess what my favorite scripture is. Wives, submit to your husband. Yeah, that's my favorite scripture. And it's funny because, it's never even been close in my house, and I doubt it's close in their house either. They're presenting a Christian product to a Christian audience. If you honestly think she's submitting to him behind closed doors, I doubt it. And if she is now, 5 years from now, she won't be. So there's not a direct one-to-one correspondence between what the Christian is professing in a Christian video marketed towards a Christian audience and reality. That's a reality check. Just like in the video where she's in the generic pop video where she's the most compassionate person who ever walked the face of the earth. That isn't a direct one-to-one correspondence with reality either. She's presenting that. I don't know why Jaclyn's freaking out oh, she was such a well-rounded, creative person, a free spirit then. I mean, she even had her nails painted black. Oh my God, she must have been so cool and hip and well-adjusted. Further reality check, she wasn't. Yes, there's a price. Some of the Christian life is a sacrificial life, but some of what she gave up then, you should know better. Read between the lines. She's not spelling it out for you. When she's talking about generic sin, I don't think she means singing, and I think she means that, when generally speaking, when people were trying to make it as a pop star, first of all, those videos have no personality. Hello, those are generic pop products. They aren't her. She's more her in the marriage that she's in with Paul. She's more her in the videos with Paul. Yeah, you might not like her, but that seems more like the genuine her. The videos that you're citing are just kind of generic pop products. Could be anybody. They're interchangeable. They're not real. And she's not telling you some of the struggles of that period. And I sincerely doubt that everything was just like she was the most compassionate, well-adjusted person who ever walked the face of the earth. And, then Paul comes along and now she's a Stepford wife. Doesn't work like that. There were a lot of struggles back then. She was probably really lonely and probably a lot of things going on. And if there was real talent and real creativity that was in her spirit that you're perceiving in some of these videos, I'll give you that. There's some real talent there. I doubt that will just go away. 5 years from now, we'll see what happens. Maybe she'll work them. Maybe she'll have her cake and eat it too. Maybe she'll start working it into her marriage and start making, their particular YouTube videos more about, her singing in her voice. It can happen. There are Christian ministries out there that became female-centered. Joyce Meyer, for example, where the husband takes the back seat. And I got no issue with that. But I'm not saying that Paul will take the back seat. But first of all, Exhibit A. She says Exhibit A that Paul is oppressing her. Is like, look, she looks a little sad in that video. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. Okay, maybe Paul is a bit of a douchebag. It's possible. It's certainly possible, and he could be. But we don't have enough information or evidence to just suppose that he is, and now she's a Stepford wife, and look at all she's thrown away. First of all, she didn't throw all that much away. That was generic pop product. It wasn't this great, she wasn't Bob Dylan. Let's just do a reality check right there. That was generic pop product without very much personality to it. You were way overrating how good and interesting that stuff was. It was basically nothing. It was basically non-entities, and she knows that. And she was probably lonely and struggling, had a lot of struggles in that particular period of life, and she probably wasn't all that happy. I guarantee you that's true. And as for them now, they're a lot nicer than you give them credit for. They really are. I don't know them that well. But every time I comment on the videos, I'm pretty sure it's her. She chats back with me. She's really nice. Pretty sure it's her. She puts smiley faces on. Is really, really effervescent. Almost positive it's her. Him I've chatted with on Twitter once or twice, and he seems pretty nice too. So you're way overrating how cringy and super creepy they are. They really aren't. They really aren't. If you watched all their videos, you get a much more balanced perception of them, and you kind of like them, to tell you the God's honest truth. You would actually kind of like them. I think they're kind of cool. Yeah, some of their views are a little bit, obviously atheists are going to dislike what they have to say about certain subjects, but you don't have to gravitate towards those videos and pretend that's a sum total of everything they talk about, because it isn't. If you actually hung with them, which means watched all their videos, you'd kind of like them. Pretty sure you would. Why? Because they're kind of likable. To tell you the God's honest truth, they're nowhere near as bad as you guys make them out to be. And you guys, I'm talking to the atheists, the atheists who cite them. They really aren't. Yeah, they got a couple of views that the atheists aren't going to like, and those views are predicated on, that's Exhibit A. They believe this, and it's because of Christianity. Okay, fine. But overall, I think you're actually doing them a disservice, and you are maligning them to a certain degree. Watch all their videos. I don't know this for a fact because I don't watch that many of their videos, to tell you the God's honest truth. I think I've watched 10. But there are a couple of things I do know for a fact. First of all, wives, submit to your husband. Might as well not. The Bible might as well not say that. It doesn't work. It never worked in my house. And, I love my wife to death. It actually would have been a lot easier if she did submit to me a little, because, she's. You can't get my wife. You can't win an argument with my wife. You really can't. You just cannot. And it'd be a lot easier if she had some of that in her. Not because I want to lord it over her. Actually, yeah, because I want to lord it over. It'd be awesome. It'd be totally awesome. But it doesn't work. Doesn't work, and I sincerely doubt that it's going to work in their marriage either, as advertised. Now, Jaclyn Glenn tells a story where she knew, I guess it was a boyfriend or maybe a husband, some Christian douchebag who was using the Bible to try and dominate her. That does happen. And I'm not saying Paul doesn't do that a little. Maybe he does. A lot of Christian men will use that temptation, to try and lord it over their wife. Healthy marriage, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You stop trying after the first 3 years. I was so excited when I saw that scripture, and I was really, really geared up to get my wife to submit. And it never worked for one day. It never worked for one day, not even 1 minute. So I doubt it's going to work in their marriage either. They kind of strike me as actually a pretty happy, well-adjusted couple, and he doesn't strike me as a total douchebag. If he has some douchebag in him, some I don't want you wearing that dress because it doesn't serve the Lord, or things like that. He might have some of that in him. but she strikes me as actually kind of, I don't know. She doesn't strike me as all that much of a Stepford wife. She strikes me as that the personality that you see in her videos is actually more her than the generic pop product that you were saying, it's so tragic that she's not that anymore. Strikes me as more genuinely her now. Now, again, I could be wrong about this because I don't watch all their videos. I've watched about 10. So maybe I'm just throwing it out there. And what Jaclyn was saying about a Christian who she was saying there was a Christian in her life, I guess it was a boyfriend or a husband, who did try to dominate her and was using the gospel as an excuse to try and lord it over her morning, noon, and night and control her. There are people who do that. And maybe Paul does that a little, maybe he's a little bit of a douchebag, but even that, if someone is sincere in their Christian walk, he should want to heal from that and be a servant of her, because that's what Christianity actually teaches. It doesn't teach dominate your wife. It teaches the greatest among you shall be the servant of all, including servant to your wife. So if you're a man listening to this and you think Christianity teaches you to lord it over your wife and tell them to submit, it doesn't. It tells you to submit. You. Submit ye one to another out of reverence for Christ. So I serve my wife in a healthy Christian marriage. I consider myself the servant of all. So that's a misrepresentation of what Christianity actually teaches. It teaches a man, me, the man, not to try to lord it over my wife, to try to be the servant. And by my good example of holiness and circumspection and humbleness and humility, my wife sees my good fruits and goes, I want to be more like my husband and I love him, and everything works out that way. It doesn't work like that in real life either. It kind of can, though. Submit ye one to another out of reverence for Christ. That's what the Bible actually teaches. And that's what you should put into place in a marriage. Is there marriage? Is he dominating her in the marriage? Doesn't look like it to me. Now, I could be wrong. I'll watch more of their videos and I'll keep a close eye on it. But Exhibit A was she looks a little sad here. Come on. She looks a little sad here. Yeah, she does look a little sad in that video. He must really be abusive. Come on. Come on. It doesn't work like that. You're an atheist. You're supposed to have evidence. You're supposed to line up the evidence. Yeah, she looks a little sad in that video. So, I don't know. Check out, you guys, let me know what you think. Watch this video, and we won't play this to death because it's not really worth it. But check out her video and tell me what you think. I don't think that the great creative experience, the great creative soul, isn't snuffed out, and she wasn't exactly this great creative, well-grounded, free spirit back then, and now she's a Stepford wife. That entire premise is flawed. She seems a lot more genuinely herself in the videos that we see as Paul and Morgan. If you ask me, I'd be curious as to what she would say. I bet you anything she'd say that she's more herself now. Those videos struck me as generic. They didn't strike me as particularly her or any type of particular personality. They struck me as generic pop product. They were kind of interchangeable. They were the personality of whoever she was imitating. So, anywho, everybody check it out and tell me what you think. So there you have it, kids. I was kind of surprised that Jaclyn was so dense on the subject, to tell you the truth. Part of it is how these guys operate. Most of the people who say Paul and Morgan are super creepy and super cringy are smart enough to know better. But they're only citing the videos that they're going to be cringed and creeped out by. Hello. So they're distorting all the evidence in favor of, I don't like them. It's not really hard to parse out. It's the same reason why they run the same scam with Stephanie. They only cite the tweets that they don't like. And then they go, wow, I really don't like Stephanie, because they're only reading the ones that they don't like. It's a scam. And this is the scam that they play with Paul and Morgan too. Paul and Morgan strike me as pretty cool. Actually, they're pretty nice. And just from dealing with them personally, I like them a lot. Tell you the truth. I think they're kind of harmless. And I think they're kind of fun. Are they cringy sometimes? Sure. Okay, fine. I just think you're way overrating how bad they are. Atheists are doing. So, there you have it, kids. That is all for now. Mass is ended. Go in peace. Amen. Yes, in defense of Paul and Morgan. Paul and Morgan, the Paul and Morgan Show. They're everything that you could ever want in Christianity. Christianity is a product. They're making a Christian product, so they are overplaying how much they are practicing certain tenets of Christianity, at least subtly. There isn't a direct one-to-one correspondence between what they are saying in their Christian walk and what they are living out. It doesn't work like that. So you need a reality check on that too. So if you're cringing, get a grip. If you were hanging out with them, I'm sure you'd like them. I'm sure you'd like them if you were hanging out with them. There's a lot of things about them you'd like. Jaclyn, Glenn, I'm talking to you. You would like them for the most part. A couple of things here and there, you'd be like, ew, I can't believe he said that. But it happened once. You'd hang out with him for 3 hours and he'd say one thing that you were like, ew. And that would be the end of it. Or the same thing with Morgan. You'd hang out with him for 3 hours and they'd say one or two things that you didn't like. And one or two things that would creep you out. So that's all I'm saying. Let's be a little bit more balanced in our perspectives. Let's have a little bit more, let's bring a little bit more, full assessment, full realistic assessments to the table when we're thinking these things through. That's all. That is all for now, kids. The Mass has ended. Go in peace. Amen.